Welcome back, everyone, to some more Elite Speak, and I am here with your AEW Dark episode 56, October 13, 2020 review. And we got quite the doozy for you. 14 matches on the card, and quite a few of them were actually pretty entertaining. And that's all one could ask for, besides getting the talent some work. I'm going to give you that rundown right now, and we're going to start with the first match. That first match was a four-way match, a four-way dance. For the first match, we have Evil Uno versus Frankie Kazarian versus The Blade versus Jungle Boy of the Jurassic Express. And this was actually a good match, kicking it off hot. All four guys had a shoving contest to start. Jungle Boy step up Kenrana's Uno outside of the ring. Jungle Boy and Kazarian face off for a bit. Kazarian and Jungle Boy trade near falls as a result. Jungle Boy then gets 2 counts as Blade drags Jungle Boy out of the ring. Later, Jungle Boy uses the ropes for an arm drag to Blade as he kicks Uno off the apron. Uno later chops Jungle Boy down to size in the corner, then delivers a vertical suplex for a 2 count. Uno later trades chops with the Blade as Jungle Boy and Kaz come in to break that up. Jungle Boy later tope suicidas everyone and delivers a monkey flip to Blade, I believe. Kazarian then delivers a fisherman buster to Blade and he gets a 2 count. Uno then delivers a nice backbreaker of sorts to Jungle Boy from a crucifix position, no less. Blade and Kaz fight for the honor to superplex Jungle Boy, but Uno breaks that up. Uno then goes for his finisher, but Jungle Boy reverses it for a pin, and he gets the win. Jungle Boy's push and his rise continues. Jungle Boy showed more than anyone did in this match. Not to say everyone else did bad. It was just Jungle Boy's time. The match was good, and I give it a 3. It could have been easily at home on Dynamite, but instead it is on Dark, and that is no shame. It's good stuff. Post-match, Evil Uno calls his Dark Order brethren out to deal with Jungle Boy, but then SCU and the rest of Jurassic Express come out to help Jungle Boy out. So the faces helped their fellow face Jungle Boy versus the heels. Good stuff. Next match, we had a tag team match, and it was Lee Johnson and Cesar Bononi versus the Lucha Brothers. Good stuff here as well. Bononi and Penta starts the match. Penta gets in the face of Bononi after some kicks, but he takes Penta down. Bononi body slams Ray Phoenix and tags Lee Johnson in. Lee Johnson then suffers some patented Lucha Brothers offense. Later, Bononi takes down Lucha Brothers with a nice double team powerbomb. Phoenix then springboards in and Penta drops in on Bononi's yam bags. Lucha Brothers then go for the finish, but Lee stops it. Tope's Phoenix and Bonini goes for the cover and gets a 2 count. But later, unfortunately, Lee Johnson suffers the spike package power driver from the Lucha Brothers, and the Lucha Brothers get the win as a result. Good match, nonetheless. It gets a 2.5 out of 5. Next up, we have Brandon Cutler going up against his longtime rival, Peter Avalon. This is part 2 of their series of singles matches. And this was another good one, full of storytelling. Don't let anyone tell you Dark doesn't have storylines going on. Don't listen to them. Dark absolutely has story. During Brandon Cutler's entrance, he looked for the Bucks at ringside, but they weren't there. And this is after the Bucks said that they would be there to support him during BTE last week, at least. Avalon then took Brandon Cutler out as he was looking out for the Bucks during his entrance. Avalon then immediately powerbombs Cutler on the entrance ramp. He then does the martinis to Cutler and says to declare him the winner. He grabbed the microphone and said this. He told Knox to declare him the winner. Avalon proclaims himself the winner, but Cutler then crawls into the ring and the bell finally rings. He then wants Rick Knox to count Cutler out. He then gets back in the ring with the assistance of Leva Bates. Leva Bates helping out Brandon Cutler instead of Peter Avalon. Interesting. Avalon beats him down some more with some multiple back suplexes. He then delivers a half crab on Cutler, but he reaches the ropes. Cutler then attempts to come back into the corner, and he delivers some common giris to Avalon. He then chops Avalon with the help of the ropes. Avalon uses Leva as a safeguard in order to strike Cutler. Not long after, Cutler topes Avalon. Cutler then hits a springboard elbow to Avalon for a 2 count. Avalon then gets a Uranagi to Cutler, and he gets a 2 count. Cutler then hits a reverse DDT for a 2 count after blocking Avalon's springboard moonsault attempt. Cutler then grabs his die that he usually brings out during his entrance, from under the ring, and Leva talks Cutler out of using it. Avalon then gets another near fall not long after this exchange. Avalon then grabs a book to use, but Cutler dodges that and knocks Rick Knox out in the process. And while Rick Knox was getting to his feet, Cutler delivers his TPK finish to Avalon. Not long after that, both Avalon and Cutler use weapons and get both Avalon and Cutler suffer AEW's first ever double disqualification. Both remain winless as a result, so this feud will continue. Leva then storms off the set after this. Good match. Love what they got going here. Storyline, it just keeps going, and it looks like it's going to continue. And I give the match a 3. It would have been at home on Dynamite, but since the feud was built online, that's where it stays. It stays on Dark and BTE. Next match, we had another good match. Matt Sydal versus Sonny Kiss. Both start the match with quick arm drags and show off their speed as a result. Sonny then delivers a drop kick, which takes him off his feet. It takes Sydal off his feet. Sydal later beats down Kiss, but he fights back, but only to land in a submission hold. Sydal then hits a standing twist move for a 2 count. He then hits a fisherman buster with a nice cover for a 2 count. And Sonny then gets some discus strikes off on Sydal and hits a flatliner followed by a split leg drop for a 2 count. Kiss later delivers his X's and O's and he gets a 2 count for that. But Sydal then gets a Cobra clutch on Kiss and he later taps out. And this gives Matt Sydal his this gives Sydal his 2nd ever win in AEW. Solid match. It gets a 2.5. Next up, we had Aaron Solo, Fashion, and Mbadu versus the Dark Order. 6-man tag action. Silver and Solo starts the match off. Silver brings Solo down with an armbar lock. Solo then follows with a drop kick. Badu then shows off his power as he backdrops Reynolds and then tags out to Fashion. Reynolds and Fashion then go at it as Reynolds delivers a reverse neck breaker to Fashion and gets a 2 count. Badu then gets back in and demonstrates more of his power with back-to-back splashes as he gets taken down by Silver not long after. 10 out of nowhere delivers a nice-looking spear to Solo. The Dark Order then deliver a double team move to Solo for the win. The Dark Order rolls on. This is a good match. I give it a 2 though. 2 because it belongs on Dark. Still fine. The next match I was looking forward to the most, and it featured Elayna Black She has been doing great on the indies. I just saw her this past weekend at the collective set of shows, she did great. And she was also good in the Stadium series from Warrior Wrestling, an indie company. Good stuff. Check it out if you haven't already. Elayna Black versus Red Velvet. This was a nice pairing, a nice matchup. They gelled well in ring. I just wish it could have gone longer, and I wish I wanted Elayna Black to showcase more what she can do, because she's better than what she's shown, but it wasn't a bad match. Brandy comes out to commentary to vouch for Red Velvet pretty much, because Red Velvet owed her a favor. Both lock it up to start. Velvet shows off her speed here as Elayna is caught off guard. Black then comes back and knocks Red down a peg. Both then trade strikes. Black mocked Velvet with a stir it up motion and gets a 2 count after. Velvet then delivers double knees to the back of Black's head, and she hits her just desserts kick for the win. And this is Velvet's first ever AEW win, first of many, I presume. It's safe to say that she is in good hands in the company, standing wise, because she's going to be aligned with Brandy Rhodes, it seems, and Brandy is pretty high up in the company. So good on Velvet. The match gets a 2 though. It could have been better, but it wasn't bad. Next up, we have Fuego del Sol versus Ricky Starks. Starks starts by immediately pummeling Fuego in the corner to start the match. Starks did not let up on Del Sol. He then attempts a comeback but gets sent over the ropes onto the stage. Mid-match, Ricky visits the commentary table and addresses the viewers, and then gets back to work on Sol. Sol then comes back, but to no avail as he gets the Rochambeau for the loss. Ricky Starks wins. He continues his role. And after this match, Ricky appeared on commentary for the rest of the night. I'm still curious as to why Ricky Starks is on commentary and not anyone else. But I don't know. Maybe they have a plan. After this, there was an SCU segment in which Spears interrupts him, and a match is made for next week, I presume, on Dark. Spears versus Christopher Daniels, with Sky backing him up. Next match, we have Ryzen and Max Stardom versus the Gun Club. Ryzen strikes down Austin to start the match. Oh, and by the way, the Ricky Starks match, that gets a 2. Ryzen strikes down Austin to start the match. Stumps a mud hole in him. Stardom then tags in. Later spills onto the outside. The match did. Ryzen later back breaks Austin, and Stardom delivers a neck breaker to Austin and gets a 2 count. Billy then gets a hot tag and runs wild. Later goes for his Fame-Master but gets thrust kicked instead. Austin then hits his quick draw finisher on, I believe it was Stardom for the win. The Gun Club continues to roll on. Match gets a 2. Next up, we had Darby Allin versus Nick Comoroto. Apparently, Nick Comoroto was in NXT and got released earlier this year, around April or so, with the mass releases that WWE did. And what their loss could be AEW's gain, because I was impressed with Nick Comoroto's performance here. We know Darby's good, but I didn't know anything about Comoroto going in, and I left with wanting to see more of him. So hopefully AEW does the right thing and brings him back for some more looks. But we have the matchup here. Comoroto pushes Darby down into a corner, and then Darby slaps Comoroto. Comoroto begins his beatdown on Darby as a result. Darby works best when he is coming from behind, so good stuff here. And Darby seems to look best when he's fighting larger opponents too, I've noticed. Darby then comes back with some chops but gets drilled with a knee. Como went for a cover but got a 1 count. Darby goes for a springboard coffin drop, but Como reverses it to a backbreaker and gets a 2 count. He then works Como over a bit, going for his arm. Darby then spins into an armbar to the injured arm of Comoroto. He almost reaches the ropes, but eventually he did get that rope break. Darby then, after working on his arm some more, hits the coffin drop to Comoroto's back, and he gets the win. Solid matchup here. I want to see more of Nick Comoroto, and hopefully AEW sees the outcry to see more of him on social media. I give the match a 2.5 due to both guys' performances. Post-match, Darby Allin rushes to the announce booth, the announce table, and beats down Starks. And this continues their feud, I presume. So it's far from over. Next segment, we had Kylan King giving a nice promo. She cut a promo on Nyla Rose for her match later in the night. She calls Nyla Rose a native bitch. Good stuff. I like her delivery. So I'm hoping that the fact that they gave her promo time on Dark, that they want to do something else, something more with Kylan King, because out of all the women they brought in to work these shows, Kylan King has shown the most improvement each and every time out. And I want to keep seeing more of her, and I want to see her get that win eventually. Next match, we had Griff Garrison versus Colt Cabana. Both lock it up and exchange various holds to start. Garrison later delivers a nice kick to Cabana. Garrison then misses a splash in the corner, and Cabana juggles him a bit with his feet and tosses him out of the ring as a result. Later, Garrison goes for a higher risk move, but Cabana takes advantage with a flying apple and then delivers a splash for a 2 count. Not long after this, though, Cabana locks the Billy Goat Curse hold in on Griff Garrison for the win. Cabana seems to keep on winning as a result of being in the Dark Order, because all they do is win these days. Match gets a 2. And next up, we had the Kylan King match. Nyla Rose versus Kylan King. Both lock it up briefly, but Rose throws King off of her. Vicky Guerrero attempted to grab King's legs to trip her, but Nyla takes advantage after. Rose then catches and fall away slams King. She gets struck down in the corner. King then turns the tables. She headbutts Rose, but Rose dodges King's enziguri. Rose later delivers the Beast Bomb for the win. It was a relatively short match, so perhaps squash territory, but I do want to see more of Kylan King. So hopefully this is not the last we see of her, because if Red Velvet can get a shot, so can King. Both have done well, and I want to see King rewarded as a result also. Post-match, Vicky Guerrero insults the various broken Barbies that AEW has brought in. She says Nyla and her will not be put to the side. And Vicky says, as her manager, as Nyla Rose's manager, they no longer step inside the ring until Shida publicly accepts Rose's challenge for the women's title. Nyla Rose is currently the #1 contender for Hikaru Shida's title, so all falls in line. Shida will be losing that title sooner or later, and I think it'll be at Full Gear, so we shall see. Next match, we have Joey Janela versus D3. Both lock it up, and D3 shows off his transition skills to drop toe holds, etc. D3 then takes Janela down with a head scissor. Janela then spins D3 around as D3 went for a tiaras. D3 later hits a hanging neck breaker on Janela and hits a nice split splash-like move. Janela then hits a DVD Death Valley driver on the outside of the ring with a spin prior to delivering the move. Eventually, Janela hits 3 brain busters on D3, and he wins as a result. D3 was lifeless in the ring afterwards. Match gets a 2. And the Nyla Rose versus Kylan King match, that gets a 2 as well. Next match, we had Elijah Dean versus Wardlow. This was short. Dean attempts to come back, but gets a spine buster for his troubles. Wardlow then smacks Dean, but clotheslines him after. Eventually, Wardlow knocks out Dean with his face to the knee move from the ring corner, and he gets a win as a result. Wardlow continues to look strong in his matches. Eventually, this builds to something. Match gets a 2. Then we had the main event of the night, Eddie Kingston versus Baron Black. And I was wondering why this was the main event when we had better matches that could have served this purpose. But I guess since Kingston is slightly feuding with Mox, I guess that gave him a reason to put this in the main event. But both lock it up, and Kingston headlock takedowns Black. Black returns with the head scissors. Eddie then gets several knees to Black's gut and delivers some chops. Black comes back with an exploder and gets a 1 count for it. But Kingston then hits his back fist move and then gets a front chancellery on Black for the tap out win. Eddie Kingston wins and continues to roll. Decent dark episode. Features a lot of good matches on the front end. And this main event gets a 2. And there you have it for the AEW Dark episode 56, October 13th, 2020 episode. And I'll catch you with the next one. Take care.